Yeah, we obviously have had good success here at this racetrack, so we come here expecting to be in contention to race in the top 5 for a win, and that's pretty much the expectations are high. So all in all, it's been a good solid start to the season. Obviously, I think we've run better than the results have shown. We've made some mistakes, but I think if we just keep chipping away at it and keep the speed in the cars, I think everything will be fine.
All right, let's take questions now for Kevin. If you have one, raise your hand. Let's go here. David Newton, right over here in the tan shirt. David Newton, and we'll go Mulhern and Pockers.
It's early.
David Newton, ESPN.com. Kevin, you ever seen it this quiet in the sport? I mean, 2 straight weeks with no cautions, and does that almost worry that all hell could break loose at a track like this?
I think, I was watching the races last night and thinking, it's just part of racing. I mean, it's like sports in general. I think as you look at the races and you never know what kind of race you're going to get. The late model race was boring and the K&N race was awesome. So, I don't think it has anything to do with tires, cars, anything like that. I think it's just a matter of how everything lines up on that particular night and how the cautions fall and how the race plays out. So I think it's just part of a string of things, a string of events that are lining up the way that they have. You look at last year's first Martinsville and the second Martinsville. It couldn't have been more different races.
Okay, Bob, raise your hand, and then we'll go to Mike Mulhern, and then to Steve. Go ahead.
Bob Parker, Sporting News.
Right over here,
you've been pretty much in the old Bristol camp as far as what you wanted. From what you've heard of the changes, do you think it'll be more like the old Bristol, and what do you expect come August?
Yeah, they were all gung-ho on wanting to meet at Texas, and the next thing you knew, nobody showed up, nobody called, nobody wanted to talk anymore. So I guess maybe they were embarrassed that they just wound up grinding it. So I don't really know, but you have to be, at least they're being proactive in trying to help fix it. I don't know exactly where all the grinders will have to wind up grinding the racetrack, but it's 50-50 as to whether that's the fastest part of the racetrack or not. So hopefully they grind the whole thing. But nobody's. I mean, other than you read and the things that obviously didn't sound like Bruton wanted anybody's opinion that drives the car. So he went to Darrell. So we'll see how that all works out for him.
Let's go Mike Mulhern. No, sir, right over here. Mike Mulhern, and then to Steve Richards, Jeff Gluck. Then we'll come to this side. Go ahead, Mike.
Mike Mulhern. We were talking to Darrell Walter up at Bristol. He was saying that he thought the drivers.
Wait a second. When was the last time Darrell raced at Bristol?
Well, he did win 12 times, but it was a while.
Not on that Bristol.
Not on that Bristol. That's right. Okay.
A couple of them on an asphalt Bristol.
Well,
right?
apparently he's the only guy that Bruton talked to, so maybe that has something to do with it. Okay. He said that he thinks the drivers are gaming the system on this points thing. There are only about 10 or 12 guys that really have a chance to win the championship, and the key thing is to make the playoffs and not to mess up in the first 26 races. First, do you agree with that? And second, he says drivers don't like to be the center of controversy. You've been in the middle of controversies, and you've gone up and down emotionally. What's it like in the center of a controversy? Do you I just don't even want to talk to the press, I don't want to see anybody, or, hey, that's not bad?
It all just depends on the controversy side of it. I think as you look at, the situations that you're in, they could be a controversy or, a situation with another driver. It could be a situation with something that you said, and it's easier not to be in the middle of a controversy, to tell you the truth. With the way that the media and the things work nowadays, it's just easier not to have to answer the questions from your sponsors, your team. It puts all the guys on your team in a bad spot because everybody's answering questions, and really for those guys, it's not really something that they do on a daily basis. So it's a little bit of a difficult situation that it puts everybody in. So it's just easier not to be. The points. I think if you made the point system the old point system and you made the point system the new point system, you're going to have the same guys racing for the championship that are running good that year. I just think that's the way it is. I think you're going to have some certain guys that pop up on a year-to-year basis, and you're going to have the consistency of the guys that are consistently racing for that championship year after year, no
Let's go
matter what point system you have.
Steve Richards, Jeff Gluck, then we'll come over here. Go ahead, Steve.
Steve Richards with PRN. When we go to Talladega, if the rules stay the same, do you expect the same kind of racing at Daytona? What do you expect?
Yeah, we're actually. I think you'll have that same type of pack and things that go with it. I feel like as we go towards there, we'll have to see what the temperature is and as to how you race. You kind of get put in a box there. You can't run the car 260, 280 all day and take that chance of having an engine failure. So if the temperatures are that high, it'll force our hand to race the way that we did at Daytona. But I think as a group, it'll be the same type of racing.
Thing though.
Yeah, I think the Daytona racing, it had a little bit of both. Styles of racing and the race was good, but locking the engine temperature down is just something that everybody gets concerned about. Not just in our camp, but and particularly with the Chevrolets, they tend to get quite a bit warmer than the Ford. So it's just one of those things where we'll probably be, if it's just like Daytona, we'll probably be cautious until the last 50 laps.
Raise your hand here. We'll go Jeff, and we'll come over here. Get these couple, Joe and Marty.
Jeff Gluck from SBNation.com. Can you tell us more about what happened to Josh and give us an update on how he's doing now?
Yeah, he got hit in the head with a softball running to first base and fractured his skull and blacked his eye and filled his ear up with blood, so he can't hear out of his left ear. But all that should get better, and they were just being really cautious about the swelling of his brain and just making sure he didn't get a blood clot. So, but they've taken good care of him, and everything should be fine. Yeah, I'll probably have to give him a lot less grief for a few weeks for sure.
Let's come over here.
At least let his eyes come back open.
We'll go Paul, Chuck, Joe. Go ahead, Paul.
Hey, Kevin, Paul Woody, Richmond Times-Dispatch. I have one quick question and one more involved question. One thing I've noticed is that when these media sessions start, you're almost always the first guy in. Are you an early riser? Do you just find it distasteful and like to get it done? Why is that? And the second question is, Jimmy Johnson was talking in Martinsville about how he just wants to drive the car. And if he's in the back of the pickup truck at the start of a race with you, in the past you've talked about insurance and things that are going on in the shop. I just wondered if having most of those worries taken away from you has been a good effect on your driving this year.
Yeah, I think the effect on the driving side of it has been a lot more than I had anticipated. I've been able to be really in tune with my Cup program and really pay attention to understanding more about the engineering side of it, because that's really what drives the sport, and spend time with my engineers and the crew chief as well. So, with having everything at Richards, the nationwide and the truck stuff just flows. And, when there's problems like we had yesterday, you don't hear about them. They just handle them. You show up and you drive the car, and they handle the politics and things that go with situations. So it's been a much bigger relief than I had anticipated. But as far as the media stuff, I don't like to do my media stuff during the day. I like to, once I get in the car, I like to be able to focus on what I do. I know it's part of my routine that I go through every week, but I like to not have that interrupted with something that could frustrate me throughout the day. If there's a situation or something that you don't feel like talking about, I'm just in a much better frame of mind in the morning to answer questions than I am after practice starts.
We'll go Chuck, Joe, and then Marty.
Kevin, Chuck Howard, NASCAR Media Group, over here to your left a little bit. At Talladega, your resume is pretty sterling. You've got one victory. I know you wish you'd had more, but you don't have any DNFs there, and I don't know if you've thought about that. How's a guy has run there as many times as you have not have a DNF? I mean, is it a little bit of, obviously it's skill, but do you approach just staying clean there? Is that your approach at Talladega?
I think if you really look a little deeper into that, there's some days where we just finish the last few laps and run probably slower than we need to run, but that's always been something that Richard has pushed on the guys is to make sure that when you start something, you do your best to not have that DNF on the chart. So, you know, they do a good job at fixing things and getting them back out on the racetrack. And we've definitely torn up our share of stuff at Talladega as well. But has been a good place for us, and hopefully we can keep putting ourselves in the right spot and keep that record intact.